Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, it's month of June and we are well underway with our ranking videos, and this time around we are going to be taking a look at top 10 mystic champions in the game. So far we have done 2023 2022 champions, ranked all the classes, and did mutant and tech top 10s. Now time for mystics. And here we can take a look at how my rankings looked 6 months ago. Doom, Tiger, Rintra, Claire, Diablo, Juggernaut, Longshot, The Hood, Maw, and Wiccan. And obviously there will be actually quite a few changes in these rankings as well, with the arrival of some new champions, with the attention being highlighted to some older ones or some tune-ups and all that other good stuff. So always keep in mind that these ranking videos are a mixture of my own personal views and current game relevance and trends. I do take a look primarily at the performance in the questing, battlegrounds, and alliance war as the three kind of like most important indicating factors. And there is no escaping some level of subjectivity, and therefore please keep in mind that I'm not trying to offend your love for a specific character or the honor of your family. These are simply, well, expression of the way I personally view the game right now. So remain civil in the comment section. And before we go any further, remember that you can enter a $300 giveaway for July 4th. And it is super easy to do. Basically, just duel me in game and then submit the screenshot in the link below. And you have until July the 2nd to do so. And the results will be posted on July the 4th. So do not miss your opportunity to win $100. There will be 3 lucky winners, and it is as simple as that. Right, all that said, time to jump in the meat and bones of this video. And Mystic class has been getting more and more stacked, well, pretty much just like any other class, and that is exactly why they maintain their rankings. But that also means that it's harder and harder to make these ranking videos, because obviously not only the game is moving forward, we're getting more and more amazing champions. Therefore, this time around, champions like Wiccan, unfortunately, will not quite make it in the top 10, even though he's definitely very capable champion and has very good use in the game. Symbiote Supreme, once arguably the king of the Mystic class. Sigil Witch doesn't quite make it in there as well, even though she definitely has a very high potential. And then, as kind of like a general rule of thumb, I primarily view these lists as offensive use, and that means that many of the Mystic staple defenders will not be featured in this top 10 list, even though Sasquatch definitely is underestimated as an attacker, and so is Mojo actually, and I think Mojo's value is steadily increasing with all the nullify immunities coming into the game, and his ability to just basically make those buffs expire super fast is going to be more valuable as ever. Mojo's only big real drawback is in a single fight content where you do need to ramp him up. Obviously, then we have Man-Thing, Mangog, Mephisto as an amazing attackers. I'm also not including Magic because she's not out as a 6-star, and therefore by that fact alone largely irrelevant in top tier gameplay unless under very specific situations. And then we have like Ebony Maw and Dragon Man, who are both also very close to making to the list, but unfortunately did not make it. Right, so let's start with spot number 10. And spot number 10 at the moment I'm going to be putting in Chavez. And I have been on a real Chavez hype train quite recently because she is quite awesome. She can serve obviously as an attacker, as a defender. She is a staple Alliance War defender, frequently appearing in Battlegrounds decks, and especially since she got released as a 7-star, we have seen her shine even brighter to a point where she is a great counter for any power gain champions or power gain metas, and that includes most of the Mystics as well, which is kind of like funny in a sense that she, as herself a Mystic champion, is a great counter to Mystic Dispersion and a ton of other Mystics in the game. And then obviously, you know, more and more people are using her for questing and stuff like that as well. Have seen her being brought in Alliance War recently too. But there is absolutely no denying that she is gaining popularity, and rightfully so, because her tune-up has been absolutely massive for her. And if you guys missed her tune-up, then basically she gains significantly more attack rating for each of her dimensions active, to a point where she's a very heavy damage dealer. And her dimensions, I believe, expire slower, or duplicates of her dimensions expire slower now. And yeah, she's a relatively simple champion to play, and one of the coolest things, and this is one of the very, very few reasons I'm kind of grateful or happy for relics or about relics, and that is America Chavez's interaction with relic. Because if you interrupt your heavy attack with a relic and then go into another heavy attack, you basically kind of get like a free dimension, and that has a very huge impact on her damage and the speed and how well you can ramp her up. And yeah, she synergizes extremely great with relic. So basically you just land a 3-4 hit combo, start your heavy attack, let 1 or 2 hits land of that heavy attack, activate a relic, and then after 3 hits of relic go into another heavy attack, again 1 or 2 hits, let land of your heavy attack, and use a special attack, gain a ton of power, and you can be at level 2 with many of your modes activated already, and a great damage output. One of the coolest relic interactions in the game that we have at the moment. Absolutely love using that trick as well. And yeah, America Chavez, I think very deservedly, at least in the top 10 spot, could potentially be argued to go higher. Now, spot number 9, I am going to give to Spidey. Now, despite being one of the squishiest champions in a game, he is actually quite solid defender unless opponent has a completely buff immune champion, because he limits the time and the ways opponent can attack him. It is quite easy to mess up against him, and if you do so at the wrong moment, your health pool will just disappear. On top of it, he also, much like America Chavez, is very effective at dealing with power gain and power gain champions. And one of the coolest things about him is that his blessings cannot be affected by ability accuracy, and therefore you can use him against neutralize, you can use him against domino, and for most part he will do tremendously well. Nobody would have expected from this guy to be a very good domino counter, but here we are. And yeah, therefore he's quite a tricky champion that definitely requires getting used to fighting against. And if you do learn how to utilize his phase and the safety net of that phase to get guaranteed openings and just, be able to be more aggressive and intercept more often, he can be an absolute monster on attack as well. And rightfully so, he's getting a lot of attention despite being a relatively new champion, and I like that a lot. I hope he gains even more and more popularity. Now, spot number 8, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going to be putting in 2 champions that previously had separate spots on this list, but I realized that they both effectively kind of represent the same thing, more or less, and both of them have their upsides and downsides. And spot number 7 is split in between Claire and Diablo. And so, the number one thing that is going to be obvious that they share is the fact that they are both significantly more powerful with Liquid Courage Double Edge on. So running those masteries, they are, at their best form. Unfortunately, without them, they are also significantly slower. So your relationship with Claire and Diablo will often largely depend what kind of mastery setups you like to run most often. But both of them have more in common than that, in a sense that neither Claire or Diablo are necessarily the fastest champions in generic situations, and therefore, when we are taking a look at the game modes, neither one of them are particularly present or active in battlegrounds, again, unless there are very specific metas that can kind of supercharge them, but in that case, it also works on most of the Mystic champions. Both of them take relatively similar matchups for Mystic Champions, as in kind of weirdly, both of those are very good core counters. Both of them are decent against, at least Diablo can take Rinter and so on and so forth. And the difference here is that I feel like Claire has kind of moved more so into just questing territory. That is where we see her most often. And Diablo has remained his relevance more so in Alliance War. I personally have used Diablo for a ton of fights in Alliance War over last couple of months. And then occasionally I do bring him in Battlegrounds as well, pending, again, what metas there are. But they are still very, very powerful, in my opinion. It's just that I do believe that currently the game is releasing the content where they are getting kind of outcompeted for most part. And still, I can fully see that if you are a frequent Double Edge, Liquid Courage user, then you would value these champions higher. You would put them probably in top 4, top 5 of the Mystic class. But at the same time, without them, regardless what anybody else says, they do lose quite a bit. They do slow down in terms of damage. They also lose their ability to regen as effectively as before. And in case of Diablo, you lose also like a damage mitigation in most scenarios. But both of them are crazy good. There's still a reason why they are in the top 10 of Mystic champions as Mystic class is expanding, as some champions are finding themselves. Not everybody can always be on up and up. And I think that's the story of Clan and Diablo. I think they are still tremendously useful. I still think that there are plenty of applications of both of them in the game, but I don't see their popularity and usage in the game overall going up. I see less of them than I did 6 months ago, than I did 1 year ago, than I did 2 years ago. Still, absolutely have gotten my money's worth from my rank 4 Diablo, for example, due to Alliance War. And, they are well worth considering if you're looking at Mystic champions to rank up. And they are probably your go-to champions to rank up if you frequently could carry Double Edge Masteries. Spot number 7, I am giving to Hood, because Hood has been going from strength to strength, and after his buff, it took him forever to be kind of noticed, and still a lot of people do underestimate this man severely. Now, the thing with Hood is that he does require quite a lot of experience and practice to be effective, and a lot of people just don't seem to be willing to invest in it. However, I personally know firsthand, due to the showcase that I did on my channel from one very, very talented Hood player, that Hood can do some incredible things and some really, really tricky matchups. Power Steel ability is extremely effective, and then obviously one of the coolest things that people forget about the Hood is that his level 2 actually reduces opponent's ability accuracy, and he does reduce all ability accuracy by 65%. So if you have level 2 Fate Seal on opponent, it's basically like having 2 Archangel's neurotoxins on the opponent, which can shut down a lot of nodes. And then obviously access to phasing, access to big bursts of damage while detonating his bullets is just great for him. And one of the kind of like weak aspects of him upon the release was the fact that you could run out of your hex bullets. It just isn't as much of a weakness anymore due to the nature of the game, where you typically, bring in Hood for Alliance War. You don't need to worry about bullets there that much. You use him in Battlegrounds. There's only one fight, so you don't need to worry about the counter bullets, and the quests themselves typically have become shorter. And I think Hood is still underestimated. It's one of those champions that I wish I was better at, because I get my butt constantly kicked by him. To the point where if I see a rank Hood in Battlegrounds, I often just end up banning him, because the times that, my opponent flipped out a random Hood and nuked down a champion I didn't think they would be able to, has been just far too many. And it's not just Battlegrounds. He has obviously been getting more and more use in Alliance War by these same top tier players, and more use in rest of the game as well. Therefore, I do highly recommend check out the Hood showcase on my channel. It was put together by an extremely skilled player, and it's well worth the watch, and you would be surprised. And Hood in general, I think, is currently 7th best Mystic champion. And now we're gonna have to run from bias police, because I will be giving spot number 6 to my boy Juggy.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
I don't get it. I think Juggy deserves this spot because he is de facto one of top questing champions in the game, not just in Mystic class. Like, for me and many players who have actually started using Juggernaut, realizing how fast and easy it is to quest with him, whether you run or don't run Liquid Courage Double Edge, because he handles them quite well. Also, is just super easy, safe, and fast to quest with. That's a huge plus. And then obviously Battlegrounds. I would wager that he's in top 5 Battlegrounds offensive champion list. I mean, you're willing to challenge that claim, but I'm gonna put forth the fact that He's not only a nuke that takes many random matchups, he's also a nuke that goes up against Korg very well, one of the best Korg counters, one of the best domino counters, especially if you're not, looking at the perfect like Nimrod or something like that. One of the best Killmonger counters, one of the best Nick Fury counters. You can nuke down Sasquatch with him like it's nobody's business. I think I have done it in like 45 seconds. Rank 4 versus rank 4 or 40 seconds. Then you can run him up against Killmonger and, well, obviously, Hercules and a ton of other champions. And he just happens to be one of those champions that runs through almost all of the tough defenders in Battlegrounds. And that's visible. And his popularity has skyrocketed over the last, 8-9 months. 9 months ago, people, were surprised to see Juggernaut in a Battlegrounds deck. Then today, I'd say 95 out of 100 top players in Battlegrounds are running Juggernaut in their deck. And again, it's not like he works just in Battlegrounds. One of the best questing champions as well. He's not as popular in Alliance War, I'll give you guys that. But the dominance this guy has in the game modes where he does work, just, quite crazy. The man's quite crazy. So, Juggernaut spot number 6. To me, I'm saying Jugs is up here. You don't like it? Well, go make your own list. Right. Spot number 5, I'm going to give a champion that I absolutely loathe. And I hate this stupid Prince Charming and his missing digit. I do not know why. I do have this weird thing where his hands creep me out. He's missing a finger. He's an alien. And if you take a look at him, he has 3 digits and a thumb. Wrong. And he's a wannabe Prince Charming from Shrek 1. Anyways, or Shrek 2. Don't remember. But the man has been putting in work. And regardless of how much I dislike Longshot, there is absolutely no denying the fact that he is putting in work everywhere. He's surprisingly nasty defender and therefore is a staple Alliance War and Battlegrounds defender because fights can go wrong very, very quickly, very, very fast against him. You push him to Pure of Hearts and he drops a level 2, you're dead. You eat a level 1 whilst he has Pure of Hearts, you're dead. His ability to randomly nullify buffs and replace them with bad karma makes it so that even your dexes can be punished. And should you happen to gain any other buffs, that's a very, very bad idea against Longshot. And he's one of those champions where you often spend most of the fight baiting out special attacks and without hardly being able to do any damage to him. And then, we haven't even started talking about his nuke potential because he is, I think, de facto the most mysticky nuke out there. He's not the highest damage output champion against opponents that have like maybe 1 buffs or no buffs at all. He still does well enough to be effective. But if there are plenty of buffs present, then Longshot is going to town, and we all know it. He is one of those guys where if you drop Hulkling on defense and if opponents have Longshot, that Hulkling is going to be cooked in about 20 seconds. Or Gore, or a whole bunch of other champs. So, Longshot is, again, definitely a worthwhile champion, has his uses and continuously increasing amounts of them across the game. Be that story content, be that challenge content, be that Alliance War offense or defense, be that Battlegrounds offense or defense. And quite frankly, there's just no reason not to place him there. That's it. Again, the man is effective. He's very weird looking. He's stupid because he looks like Prince Charming, but he's very effective. And therefore, he goes to spot number 5. Spot number 4, I am going to give to... Who's going to be in spot number 4? This is the Intrigue stat. We're going to be putting in Rintra. Now, Rintra is still definitely upper echelon Mystic. One of the things that has kind of gone down somewhat for Rintra is that people, as always with defenders, have sussed out the most effective ways to deal with the champion, have found more and more answers. Science class is getting more and more buff, and most of them answer Rinter relatively well also. And Rinter has gone from a champion that will almost always force 90-second fights to a timeout to a champion that most of the time goes down in like 60 to 55 seconds in battlegrounds. Because, yeah, people have adapted, learned, and, how to take him down most effectively. And he still obviously has a tremendous value as a defender, and there aren't many better ones. He's nowhere near a mountain of an obstacle to overcome for those of you who have learned and paid attention how to tackle him. That said, he's obviously still one of the tankiest champions in the game, one of the dual purpose champions, plenty effective offensively, second best neutralizing game, capable of, tackling plenty of offensive tasks. We are using him on Alliance War attack and defense. We're using him in Battlegrounds attack and defense. And we are also bringing him in a quest, because why not? With that tankiness and his region abilities, it's very easy and safe to use the champion. And that's why I still think Rinter is easily in top 5 of the tech class. However, yeah, he definitely isn't as scary as he once was on defense. There are, other champs that are about as equally scary. One of the coolest things that he has going on for him, though, is his energy resistance, and due to that, Human Torch isn't all that fast against him, and there are faster options. So this is one mystic that doesn't get Human Torch as fast. Obviously, Human Torch still nukes him, but not just quite as fast. In my personal experience, the quickest way to take down Rintra is Scorpion, and that can be done in about 45 seconds on equal ranks, or something like that, maybe 50 seconds. Anyways, back to the point. But yeah, still an absolute powerhouse, useful in virtually every single game mode, super effective, obviously, very, very stable, reliable, neutralize abilities. One of the downsides about Rintra is that you do not want him to be at max sig, or he's going to be becoming quite hard to control in some of the more buff-heavy matchups where you can't be super aggressive or corner the opponent. So there are inherent kind of like weaknesses or things that he doesn't do too well. Obviously, the reliance on that one big burst also can occasionally go south. But all in all, definitely a crazy good attacker, crazy good defender, one of the tankiest champions in the game, and well deserving of his spot. So what is better than Rintra? Well, I'm going to give it to Daddy Longlegs. Absorbing Man has had, I'd argue, the largest impact on the game from any champion out this year. And I think that's not kind of like a wild statement to make. So Daddy Longlegs so far has designed Kate and Absorbing Man, and both of those champions are absolutely amazing, towards the top of the champions released this year, and also towards the top of in their respective classes. And when it comes to Absorbing Man, he's a very healthy champion for the contest, which I love, because he's a champion that you will see other people use well, and you will try to learn how to use him, and whilst doing so, you will also get better at the game, because you will end up learning those light intercepts. Obviously, you can be stubborn and not learn how to play, but that's the same thing as you not learning how to play Ghost, as you not learning how to play Tigra, as you not learning how to play Quake. You're shooting yourself in the foot. But once you do learn how to play those champions, you just become better at the game, period, because you're learning new skills and new things about MCOC that you didn't necessarily know or notice before. Obviously, Absorbing Man has plenty of matchups where no special skill is required, and that is if you get to trigger a lot of his immunities, or if you get armor break a lot attempted on you. But obviously, that's not majority of the matchups that he ends up being used. I love the fact that he's a solid defender and solid attacker, but not the craziest of either. Like, he's not the fastest offensive champion unless you go up against something like Terax or Nihilus, but he's relatively fast. And the same on defense, he is relatively tough defender, but he's not all that rough once you learn how to deal with him, learn how to switch off his regen with the heavy attacks, learn the spacing, alternate his forms. You can take him down with most of the champions, to be honest, and it is not that hard. Initially, everybody was super afraid of him on defense. I think that time has passed, And I think he's a really, really well-balanced champion. I love the fact that you can choose whether your basic attacks will be physical or energy. You can choose what type of resistance you want to go in the fight, what type of immunities you will have. It obviously has the alternate cost because you can't have it all at any given time. And there are obviously things that are somewhat frustrating whilst using him, but it is undeniable that the man is very popular right now. It is undeniable that um, most of the top players want this guy if they don't have him already. And when they do get this guy, he does get used in Alliance War, he does get used in Battlegrounds, both offensively and defensively in both of those aspects, and also gets used in questing. There will be players saying, I think Absorbing Man's overrated, or I don't like Absorbing Man. But in majority of the cases, it will be the people who struggle to use Absorbing Man. The fact that you have a Mystic champion that can take such a variety of different fights, and you can again bring him in against Korg, you can bring him in against Killmonger, you can bring him in against Doctor Doom, should you choose to do so. For many of these matchups, he's not the perfect champion to go up against, but he has, in most cases, several redeeming abilities that make him a viable option. And then he has obviously the matchups that he's just built for, and he completely destroys, the Terax, the Annihilus, the Hulklings, the whole bunch of other champs. Right. I think very well deserved spot number 3. I don't think he's overtuned offensively or defensively. I think he's perfectly reasonable. And yeah, I think he's very, very well balanced. So, yet again, regardless of what is your personal opinion of Daddy Longlegs, there is no denying the fact that both Kate and Absorbing Man are fantastically designed champions. Well, at the very least, in my opinion. Moving on to spot number 2, and spot number 2 is Tiger. Very simple. Tiger is just an animal, that is a monster. By far the best offensive champion in Mystic class. If we're looking at offense purely and nothing else, then Tiger is the best champion in game, with the caveat that if you are a relatively high tier and skilled player. Obviously, she does require you to learn her playstyle. She pretty much requires learning each opponent individually, knowing what you can, what you can't do, which specials to punish how and stuff like that. But once you do put in a bit of time and effort, the things that Tiger do are absolutely ridiculous. She is one of the fastest nukes in the game, or the fastest nuke in specific scenarios as well. And what I love about her is that once you do learn how to play her, she's relatively simple in her execution. We all know, spam heavy attacks, drop level 2, tons of damage, go bar. And then there are only 2 things that you need to look out for. Whether opponent has massive physical resistance or rupture immunity, and whether there is something stopping you from neutralizing them. And that is just about it. And yeah, and as an end result, Battlegrounds Queen, Alliance War Queen, Questing Queen, again, with the caveat, if you play her well enough. And I love it. Love that champion. I'm not by any means like the most skilled Tiger player. You need to take a look at FinTech and whatnot for that, but she's just an absolute monster. And in Battlegrounds that if you're going up against Tigra, and if Tigra has like a relatively decent matchup, that's just an L. You're just gonna automatically take an L. You also see in Alliance Wars, when Tigra goes on in a fight and a relatively decent matchup, put on a power back boost, maybe Mystic power back boost, and those fights last like 12 seconds. Just a crazy, crazy potent champion with quite high skill cap, which kind of balances it out a bit. But still, there's no denying that she's offensively the most capable Mystic champion. But moving on to spot number 1, and it's still the daddy. Spot number 1 still goes to Doctor Doom because he is the best Mystic champion in the game. And again, notice that I did make a distinction for Tigra. Tigra is offensively the best champion. But Doctor Doom also has obviously plenty of control and defensive abilities. He's nowhere near as fast as Tiger is in general, but he is just great. He's a definition, in my opinion, of an overtuned character. Again, whoever designed Doctor Doom was clearly in love with the Marvel Console Champions character. because we do not ever see stats like this on champions. We can see that he has, when he was released, he had one of the highest prestige in the game. He had one of the highest attack values in the game. He had one of the highest armor ratings in the game. He had one of the highest crit resistance and block penetrations in the game. And then obviously he has some of the best buff and power control abilities in the game, whilst having access to a ton of defensive power as well. And yeah, the entire design is perfect in terms that it screams Doctor Doom like an evil genius. The way you put champions in your Doom loop and you effectively are playing with their power bar, giving them power on purpose just to steal it back for yourself, and then got to level 3 and then just toy with them yet again. The man is a menace, the man is a monster, and the man works again and does stuff everywhere. Again, as I have spoken in past about Mystic Champions in general, Doom is a perfect example of, he's not necessarily the champion you will want to use for every single fight. He is de facto kind of a token Mystic Champion, or the idealized version of a Mystic Champion, where he gets significantly stronger if there are buffs present. If there are no buffs present, he's still very good, just not as good, as fast. But overall, he can have some of the best fight control. He can make you feel absolutely safe and secure in the fight, and he's also very flexible and versatile, again with buff control, power control, immunity to armor breaks and shocks and whatnot. And yeah, he's just a monster. And I love the fact that when iDoom was getting released, many people were trying to compare iDoom and Doctor Doom, and some people were making argument that iDoom is better or as good. And no, it's not even close. Doom has better stats and far, far, far better abilities. And one of the best things about iDoom is the fact that all of your fun activities already start at level 1, because your level 1 is kind of like a key special attack for your rotation that gets the thing started, ignites your aura, gives you the nullifies, lets you steal the power. And this is, like, I would argue, one of the most powerful level 1s in the game, because it completely starts, dictating the fight and putting opponents in your lock. Then obviously the Fury on level 3, giving him a ton of extra damage. Level 2 to cash out on that damage, basically, with some massive incinerates. Doom's just a boss. Offensively, defensively. Scary mother flipper to go up against. Not that much else to say. So, I won. I said what I wanted to say, and now we're gonna put together the old and the new list so you guys can compare. As you guys can see, top 2 has not changed. Rintrot has moved down from 3rd to 4th place. Absorbing Man is a new addition in 3rd. Longshot has moved up several spots, and Juggernaut has actually remained in the same spot. The Hood has moved up 1 spot. Diablo and Claire have been slightly relegated. Spider-Man Supreme is a new addition, and so is Chavez. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys later. Bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about